G'day viewers, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping this is one of the difference. I don't think I've seen any videos of these being done. If there is, there wouldn't be too many. These are gold border oscillators. They're purple ceramic base with a steel cap and a gold border around the steel cap. A buddy of mine in America sent me these, and they're nice and big compared to the ones I've been collecting. These are what I've been collecting, and they're really small. And these are probably the next best thing to the old purple ceramic CPUs out of vintage computers. So the gold is not encased in the purple ceramic, it's on the ceramic, and then it's covered by a steel cap, which also has the gold border around it, hence their name. I opened up a big one, like that one on top, so that you can see inside. Now, a lot of the times these have gold bond wires inside. This one that I've opened up is a little different. It's got gold tracing in there, and I guess there could be wires that are finer than what I can get to see. Now, I've got a thingamajig, a whatchamabob, what you call it. It's a jeweler's loop with a clip on it. So it clips onto your phone over the camera, so you can see through the jeweler's loop. So I'm just going to bring up my camera and just let me get it situated. I don't think it's over the camera, I think it's come off. So just let me get it sorted, and I'll show you what this looks like, the one I've opened up. The viewer who has been sending me lots of items over the past month, even a year or so, has asked not to be named, and that's fine. It's up to him if he wants to be named. So I'm going to give him a name rather than just keep referring to him as a viewer. So I'll call him Mark. Alright, so when I refer to Mark now, you know I'm talking about this one person who has been continuously sending me items, and I've still got 3 or 4, I think it is, to process. So just so that you know. Okay, so that's about as clear as I can get it. You can see there's so much gold inside, and then you've got a gold border around the inside of the cap, which is hard for me to show you because it's bent back. There you go. And there's also the gold border on the outside. Now look at that, that's so much gold. And it's all sitting on the ceramic. So basically, I don't need to crush these in order to treat them, because I only need to remove the tops and the gold is exposed. I could put them in the dolly pot and smash them up, but then I run the risk of having fine gold bond wires trapped in my dolly pot. I don't want to do that. The cap needs to be treated as well anyway, to get the gold from the border, the gold border there, and whatever's inside. So I might as well just put them in nitric acid as they are. The nitric acid will consume the steel lids and leave the gold behind that's on the steel lid, and then it will start eating all this material. It's a pain having to work with steel in solutions, because you'll get a lot of rust, a brown sludge that forms inside from the steel, because nitric acid is an oxidizer. So obviously if you oxidize steel, it turns to rust. A lot of people in the past have had this brown sludge and they're freaked out. You don't need to panic. All you need to do is keep adding nitric acid. Rust is still a form of steel, it's just a corroded. steel. So you put more nitric in, it consumes the rust and it all goes away. So basically I'm just going to put these in a beaker as they are and put a dilute nitric acid in there. Keep adding dilute nitric acid until there's no reaction. So it'll go past the stage where it consumes the lid and turns it to rust, and I get the brown, and then I keep putting nitric, I get rid of the brown, I'll go back to a nice clean solution. It'll start removing anything base metals if there's any in there, probably some copper or whatever, and when there's no more reaction, then I can filter it off and put all these what is left over into aqua regia to dissolve all this gold. So that's the little thingamajig, the whatchamacallit-bob that I came across on Wish. It's not a bad little item. It's got a light on it. Just clips onto the phone, and it only costed me, I think, I don't know, $10 or something. So it's a 60 times zoom. I don't know if you can read that on there. 60 times. Not a bad investment for little things like this, because you know, looking like that, that's not enough to see it. Having the whatchamacallit, the thingamajig, the watchabob, it helped to see what it looks like in there. And I've been waiting to use this. I've had this for about 2 months. Never had a reason to use it till now. So I think it's paid for itself already. Okay, so let's get on with it. I'll go and put this in a beaker, dilute nitric acid on heat, and we'll start the reaction going. Alright, so I know there's a lot of people who like to work out a yield. I'm hopeless at maths, so I won't be working it out for you. Hopefully someone else can, and we'll put it up on the comments for everyone to see. But we'll get a weight to see what we've got to start with. We'll start by pouring in the ones that Mark sent. And now the ones I got. Alright, so we've got 57.1 grams of gold border oscillators. Not a bad little sample. Okay, even though I've only got a small sample, I'm using a large beaker because there's a very high chance of a reaction with the steel and the nitric acid, and I just give it room for the reaction to come up and not boil over. I always prefer to use larger beakers than what you think you're going to need. See the little tiny ones that I've been collecting? I don't know where Mark gets his bigger ones from. Certainly not from any computers I've seen. But so there we go, and I'll take these things off the hot plate. They don't need to be on there anymore. Okay, put this on the hot plate. There's some distilled water. It's a miserable rainy day out there, but that's good. I'm collecting a lot of water in my tubs. I got some new chickens, and I'm using one of the crates to stop the door from opening. Saved me on buying a lot of distilled water. So I put enough water just to cover it generously. I'll end up using more soon enough, but for now that's enough. And I'm tempted to put a big pile of nitric in there because I know that I'm going to need it, but that's when everything could go south and it might boil up and over, even with this big beaker. So always better off just putting a small amount with anything you do. Right? I've had conversations with people who are trying to guess amounts that they should use. Doesn't matter if it's gold or silver. You're far better off using a small amount and add small amounts as you need it. There's no point trying to guess quantities. it's a far better practice to get into to just start using small amounts only ever. So that's a small amount for this job. Probably going to need about 5 times that much to consume all the steel. I'm going to put the temperature on half. So I don't want it rolling boil, but I don't want it to just sit hot. I want it to sort of simmer. And I'll find my watch plate. I'll have to go and get one. So I'll put a lid on this because I need to see, well, this might work. This will do. You need the lid in there, the lid on there to keep the fumes in for one, so you can see the reaction. Then you'll know when the reaction stops because there'll be no more fumes. But also to stop it boiling. Okay, as you can see, there's a strong reaction going on in there. So I'll just keep an eye out of it. My kitchen window's right here, so I'll just keep an eye out. When I don't see any fumes, I'll come out and put some more nitric in there, and I'll keep doing that until there's no more reaction. Okay, I can see that there's no reaction, so I'll go out and put some more nitric in. But because you can hear me easier in here than out there if it starts raining, I was just editing the film and putting into a file what I've done so far, and realised that you guys couldn't see through the phone. Where I was sitting looking at the phone, it was clear as, but then from this looking at the phone, it was too much light, and I had no idea at the time. I apologise. I should have actually recorded it on the phone, since that was direct to the camera. I know now, I've never used it before. In future I'll use the phone. I apologise that you couldn't see the gold properly. I think you got an idea though. I could sort of resemble just a little bit of the gold when I was editing it. So I'm sorry about that. I'll go and put some nitric in now. This is going to happen quite a few times. There's no point in showing you every time. So I'll go and put some in, and I guess I'll be back once it's finished and there's no more reaction, when I've done it probably 5 or 10 times, whatever it's going to take. Okay, so all the nitric acid has finished reacting. I got past the rust stage, and now I'm back to a clean solution. It's dark, but it's clean, and there's some gold floating on top. There's probably a lot of gold at the bottom as well. So now I'm going to filter it. I don't know if there's any silver in these, so we're going to find out. Once I've filtered this, I'll test it with a little bit of hydrochloric acid to see if it forms silver chloride. I can see quite a few gold flakes in the end. There's quite a bit of gold in there, but I don't know if it's going to be a whole lot. I don't know what the statistics are for these. I've not seen any information anywhere that tells you what the statistics are. So I can only assume, since they're a purple ceramic product, that they're going to be good. Usually the purple ceramic is really good. So all I can do now is wait until this is filtered, give it a rinse, and then put it into HCl and a little bit of nitric for Macarugia, and then see what I get. It'll be worth finding out. Are they worth keeping, or are they just not worth the time taking them off the boards? A lot of people rave about them, so I can only assume they're good. I'll come back when I'm ready to finish filtering. Well, that's looking promising. Look at all the gold bond wires. That's crazy. There's a lot of gold there, and then at the back here there's a plate. Looks like it's all gold plated. That's crazy. And then in there I can see some squares that have got dots of gold on them. There's quite a few that have got it, but there's a lot of bond wires there. Look at that. Oh, this is going to be good. Well, the filter's choked up. I'd say there's a lot of gold going down the bottom and blocked the filter. It's still filtering, but very slowly. So all I can do is wait. I don't know how well you can see that. There's a lot of gold flakes, especially the gold bond wires. There's lots of gold bond wires in there. But this is nothing. Most of it has gone into the filter. Before, this whole bottom of the glass was just packed full of bond wires. All these fine bond wires. But as I was rinsing it off, because I've been washing this, rinsing off all the mixture, and into the filter it went, and so much gold, like more than you can see here, has gone into the filter, and it's blocked it right up. So now it's dropping a drip every 10-20 seconds or something. Slowed right down. So I've made up a aqua regia to just put the tiniest little squirt of nitric in methyl hydrochloric, just to start working away on the gold that's in there. But I'm still waiting for the filter. The filter's pretty blocked up. So once that's done and rinsed thoroughly, then I can put the filter back in here as well to dissolve the gold that's in there. But that's taking its time. I've come out here about 4 times to put a bit more nitric in. As you can see, the reaction's going strong. I'm just going to keep doing that until there's no more reaction. So many times I've been out here and put a little bit more nitric in, and each time the reaction flares up again. I would have thought by now surely all the gold would be dissolved. I even rehydrated it with some hydrochloric acid and put more nitric in, and bang, off it went again. This other video I was telling you about, where I think he did it wrong, he only ended up with 1/2 gram, and he had almost the same amount I've started with. Well, I can tell you now, the amount of times I've had to put nitric in there is definitely more than 1/2 gram. Okay, so the solution has finally stopped reacting when I put nitric in. I put a dose in about 10 minutes ago. Nothing's happened, so I can now assume that all the gold has been dissolved. I do want to put an ice block in there and try and drop any silver that may be present in there. But first I need to separate the solution from all the ceramic in there and bits of paper pulp. So I'm going to filter it now and then put an ice block in there. It's still a little bit warm from being on the heat, but I've let it cool down a fair bit. I don't want to drop the silver and have it mixed in with all that rubbish. So I'll filter that now. Got a nice filter ready to go. Shouldn't take very long, there's not a lot there. I don't want to let it cool down too much, because like I said, I don't want the silver to drop yet, if there's any in there. I assume I've got all the silver. There was some silver, but I assume I've got it all. I don't know if you can see this silver chloride in the bottom of this flask here. I'm trying to slowly just pour out all this liquid and not disturb the silver. It's taking me a while, just letting it settle, then pour a bit more, then letting it settle. But I'll get that cleaned up and hopefully show you the silver chloride cleaned up before this video is over. Alright, so I've separated all the remnants of the oscillators, but there still looks like there's some stuff floating in there. It might have been silver that's already coming out because it's cool now. So I'm filtering it a second time, and then once it's filtered and I'm sure it's clean, like see-through clear, I'm going to also then put an ice block in to see if I can draw out any more. So here's the oscillators. They're perfectly clean. There's green on them from the solution, but I've rinsed it so many times, nothing's come out of it. So there's only one little thing I can see here that looks like it's got gold on it, and I'm sure it's just a I don't know what you call it, those glass chips that are inside, IC chips and so on. What do they call those crystal things? It's not actually a piece of gold, I thought it was. But no, these are all spotless. I've rinsed it and rinsed it and rinsed it to try to get all the gold solution off. That's just paper or something. And I've inspected these and there's definitely no gold left in there. So they're done. I was going to crush them just for curiosity's sake, but I can see there's nothing on them. So they're done. Just wait for this to filter. I don't know if you can see on top there's this white swirling, you know, I think it's silver, and it looks like down the bottom there's some sort of precipitate. So I'll just filter it a few times, and then when I know it's nice and clear, see if I can get some more out with an ice block, and then I'll drop the gold. Looking forward to it. Okay, so it's had an ice block made of distilled water put in there, and it's fully dissolved, and I've filtered it again. Now I've got some SMB, which is mostly dissolved in water. There's a few little bits that aren't, but they can go in as well. So it's finally time to see what we get. No colour change yet, so maybe I didn't have enough SMB. So I'll let these last few bits dissolve and do a stannous check and see if I've gotten all the gold out. By that time it's bound to have changed. It's probably going to be one of those ones where it changes real slow. But either way, I'll give it, say, an hour or two and see if it's changed colour. If it hasn't, I'll come and do a stannous test. Although it looks like it's starting to go dark now. I'm just waiting for a second to see. Yeah, it's starting to change now. Very slowly. Sometimes they change real fast, sometimes they change slow. If I'd used a lot more SMB, it probably would have gone quicker. And it's definitely changing. Alright, so I know I've probably got enough in there because it's definitely changing. So I'll just let it sit now. Most likely till tomorrow. I'll just let it sit overnight because it's late in the evening now, and hopefully it's settled all nicely. But I'll do a stannous check before I start rinsing it, see if we got it all. Okay, so the gold looks like it's dropped about as much as it's going to, so I'll do a stannous test. And that's clearly a negative. There's no more gold left in solution. So I'll pour the solution off, and there's quite a nice layer of gold in the bottom there. Way more than what this other person got in his video. I might as well tell you who it was because he's quit now anyway. It was 999 Juicing, You know, a lot of people raved on about him and thought he was really good, but I tell you what, it was shocking the way he did his. He really dirty solution. He didn't denox it properly. He used urea, which is not good to use. Even the gold refining forum don't like urea. It doesn't actually denox your solution, it only changes the pH. And I thought to myself, he's got more gold in there. When he was pouring his SMB in powdered form, it was bubbling on the top with brown in it, which means that it's redissolving as it's going in. And when he only got half a gram, I thought, no, there's something wrong with that. He had roughly the same amount to start with as what I've got, and I expected a lot more than half a gram, especially when I saw all that gold in the bottom of the beaker. I'm going by this amount of powder that's in there. Sure, it's only a dirty first drop, and it's going to be dirty. It'll need refining, but I really do believe there's going to be more than half a gram. So I'll pour that off as much as I can, and then I'm going to wash it 3 times with boiling water. I'm not going to go through the full wash process because it's going to get refined anyway. All the gold from the last few jobs I've been doing, last few videos, as well as some more that are coming up. I've got more gold videos coming. All the gold's going to be put together, and then I'll do a refining video. So I don't need to do a whole lot of washing to it now. I just want to wash the SMB out of it. So I'll carefully pour this off. The slower you go, the less chance of stirring the gold up inside, the less chance of losing any. Just go nice and slow. If you try and pour it really fast, and you're going to have gold travelling out. And it's all settling to the bottom nice. I can't really hold it any other way to show you, but it's all dropped nicely and settling down the bottom there, which is a good sign. It means it's not extremely dirty. If it was really dirty, there'd be a lot of colloidal gold. There is a couple of little pieces floating out, which is why I use a temporary stock pot for my gold washes. A couple of pieces here and there aren't going to matter too much, but I won't lose them. They land up in the bottom of my temporary stock pot. Look at that. That looks nice. So I'm going to wash that a few times with hot water, and then I'm going to melt it up and show us what we've got. Alright, so I boiled the kettle. Nice hot water helps a lot when you're doing your washes. It's better than cold water. Even when you're cleaning silver, I've seen people washing their cement silver with cold water, and hot water is definitely better. I don't know how it makes a difference, but it does. So it's settling rather fast. Still moving around from when I started up. But it's settled quite good. Any of the light brown stuff that comes off doesn't matter too much. Give it a good stir, make sure it gets nice and clean. Hold it so it sits on the corner. Just takes a minute. It's settled nice and fast. It is deceiving when you see gold in the bottom and you think, wow, it looks like there's a lot there. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't look like there's much, and then you're surprised you get more than you thought. And other times it looks like a lot, and then you're surprised because you don't get what you thought you would. So it's really hard to tell. I still think it's going to be more than half a gram. I hope so anyway. What I'm going to do this time, when I pour this water off, I'm going to tip that gold into this little beaker just to make it easier to get it into the melt dish. There'll be less water in the beaker that I tip into the melt dish. I like to melt my gold powder when it's wet. I don't have to worry about it blowing out of the dish. So I'll pour it into here. A bit of water in here. Stir it up. Okay, it's a lot less to deal with, so now I'll just let it sit and pour that water off, and when there's only a tiny bit left of water, I'll be able to pour it into the melt dish. Still a little bit floating there. Tiny pieces are going over into the stock pot. That's to be expected, but I'm saving as much as I can. Now, pour this into the melt dish. It's not a clean melt dish, but when I refine it, I will be using a clean melt dish. So now I'm going to get my little squirt bottle, squirt the rest of this gold out. I'll be back in a second. Okay, I got my my squeeze bottle. It's nearly empty. I need to fill it up. Okay, all the gold is now in there. I just have to wait for the water to settle and use a pipette to get the water out as much as I can. And better melt it up. So it'll just take me a few minutes to let that sit and pipe out the water. Okay, I don't know if you can see this or not. I'm having trouble getting the gold powder to come out because it's all encased in borax. And that's what I really hate about borax. I hate using borax. It turns to glass Probably should use a newer melt dish, but since it's going to need refining, I thought it would be alright. But after you use borax a few times, it just bonds up like glass, and I just can't get this gold out. It's stuck in there. And you've seen me melting it from the start. I can't get the gold to amalgamate into one ball. I can see the little balls of gold in there. It's all trapped in borax, and I'm trying to heat it up and get it to drop into the beaker of water, and it's just not working. It won't flow anymore. What I will try and do is, I know it sounds stupid, but I'm going to try putting some more borax in there, some fresh borax, see if I can get that to turn to liquid. It might help the gold to flow. But if I can't get this out of the dish, I'm going to have to, no choice but to put the whole dish into some boiling hydrochloric acid to dissolve it, and then I'll be able to get the gold that way. So I'll give this a little sprinkle of some fresh borax. See if I can get that to turn to liquid, and it might water down the existing borax. A lot of people have said to me in my past videos that I should sprinkle borax on them. I hate that. I hate it because this is what happens. You get too much borax in a dish and it just makes things so hard to work with. But in this case it might be a feasible option. I don't know. There's a little bit of insulation there just got stuck to it. Seems to be working. I don't know if it's only the new stuff coming off or whether the old stuff's coming with it, but I don't think I'm going to have a whole lot of choice except to dissolve all this gold by putting the dish into hydrochloric acid and boil it for a while. I can see some of the old stuff coming off, but not a lot. It's actually a good thing to show people because some of you guys might have the same problem. And I've always said in my videos I like to keep it real. You know, I could have easily sorted this out and then put the gold together and said, well, this is what I got. But when things like this happen, I like to show people, because you're not going to learn if you don't see someone else having the same problem. There's definitely got lumps of gold there, just can't get them to move. I think it was only the new borax that poured off. Yeah, it's just not coming out. All right, so I'm gonna put this into some hot hydrochloric acid, which will eventually dissolve the borax. Sulfuric acid is better, but hydrochloric acid is fine. I know that it's not going to dissolve anything that's in there. So I don't know how well you can see this. It's just one big pile of, looks like glass. It's just not, I can see all the gold in it, heaps of gold in there. not moving. Alright, so I'll get that started. I'll boil it. There's no point in showing you. I'm just going to put it into a beaker with some hydrochloric acid, boil it for a while until the borax is dissolved, and then I should be left with little balls of gold at the bottom of the beaker. Once I've done that, I'll collect them all up and I'll put them in a cleaner melt dish and melt it up and show you. There's one or two pieces that fell down into the beaker. I think that's just new stuff that poured off, but I'll put those in as well just in case. There's the silver chloride. It's going through the wash process at the moment. That's why it's all cloudy. I've stirred it up, put some new hot water in there, and it's cooled down now, but I'm waiting for it to settle so I can pour it off and give it another hot water wash, and I'll keep doing that until it's clear. And now I've got another melt dish sorted, so I'll go and melt the gold and then show you what I've got. Well guys, it's not exactly pure, but it's not too bad. It's a little bit shiny. It's got a pretty good finish to it. 1.46 grams. I knew there had to be a lot more than half a gram. That's just ridiculous. If you'd seen the amount of gold that was in the bottom of that beaker, unbelievable. It wasn't all bond wires, as Mark pointed out. There was also some foils in there. They would have come from the tops. So, but not a bad result. I'm glad that video is finally over. I hope you guys like this, and if you do, please subscribe and hit the like button, so people know that YouTube will start referring me if they know people like my videos. Alrighty, thanks again. See you on the next one.